Supposedly I'm live. So let's take a second. Yeah. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Yeah, perfect. Nunavut, Canada. Danise. I'm just getting set up. Try and get my live monitor. Ba-da-ba. I'm just getting connected here. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just keep an eye on the page. This way. All right. Anutska Tipskag. Yeah, that looks good. There we go. Can read that okay. I can't see around my phone because I've got quite the setup going on here tonight. So I'm going to have to stare up at the screen to read this, but that's fine. Seems like it's okay. Get my trusty pencil and we're going to read some stories. This one's from, I've actually got a book. I have a lot of books. So I believe this story later, some of these later went into this book of Solomon Rats. You can see that, this one here. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. Wamina. The copy that I have was given to me by a friend of mine. Nito teme egimiet. Niso masinai gansa. Peakumumuta. Umumutaya wisage ta atsmona. Egsigasatsamut Solomon Rat. Egwamina kutakuma. Ko tagaya atsamona. So we're going to read some stories tonight. Hopefully my phone doesn't. I'm having a fussy time with my iPhone. It's being a bit of a pain in the butt. So every time I bump the little cable, it's cuts out. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Saimien akakio kitam skat now. We're going to try a different format tonight because I got my Restream set up. Got a popcorn maker going in the background too. And we're going to try and read a little bit. I don't know if there's anybody else doing, I meant to look. Let's check that right now. I meant to look on Facebook. I'll just check real quick here. See if there's anything Solstice happening on Facebook. Because sometimes there's like readings and stuff. And I know Solomon Rat used to do readings on Solstice. And I haven't been on Facebook as much recently. So it could be that there's something going on and I just don't know. So if that's the case, if you know of something going on Facebook, if there's an actual like somebody's reading, or not reading, somebody's telling stories, then I saw Arden Og Cree Literacy Network put out a post today I thought I saw that in my email. Let me go check real quick. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. Pitagoi. Kui I meet Gano. I meet Ganano. We're going to read a little bit. Here it is here. Read on blog. How come I don't see that on this one? Showed up in my email today. Ispih mana kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik gegspioma. Go oskana go tigi. Gananato wiwik. Ego mina gamatia tayogi. We can probably hear Solomon say that too. I've got that muted because it's. Let's listen to that for a second. Yeah. Let's have. I'm going to hit play, but I have my desktop muted. I can hear that, but I don't think you can. Let me unmute that real quick. Make sure it's turned way down because I. Try it again. No, that one's not working. I'm still figuring out this whole OBS thing here. I don't have my. Okay, we'll fuss with that later. You'll just have to. You can go to Cree Literacy. 21st, that's today. Anutsaya. Ni somta no pego sape agamitanoots. And if we go to Cree Literacy, I would have expected it to be right here under the recent posts, but I don't see it. What's going on? News. Huh. Well, anyway, it's there somewhere. Ispimana kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik gegspioma. Oskana gohtigik. I don't know this word, but it seems like it's hegspioma. It is the time for rejuvenation, is what he's saying. I guess oskana gohtigik. Oskana gohtigik. Neat word. Gananatowihui. Which would be healing. To heal egwami nagamacha tayoke. Start telling tayoke. Cool. Okay. Let's read. Emitsigaitan. I can't see my book anymore around my phone. I have to stare up at the screen. We'll do it that way. Peguawesa. Peguawesa wisage itzak. Gipe tama timun. Ea timmito skenigua mistehe e temsoyet. Egi gitsemut. Awa skenigu. E kakwe wigamide sawa skenigu. E kakwe megisque wegut. Iinua. Maga. Ta toauga pe asotaman. Isque at the wigaman. At the weameo. Eogoma. Tsimun gape takwe sage. If you're on the live, just drop a comment. Let me know the audio is coming through fine. Let me know you can hear okay. Kapito in on wow. Kapito in on wow. Gonna have a sore neck by the end of the night. I see some likes. Renaskum wow. Pitagwe, I meet Sagana no. Kai meets a kui meet Sagana no. Ahau. Eguani, ntowa pen geowa. Mate satapwe to see if it was true. Tago sin. Ihtauni itawa kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. Sagako siga kimutapo. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik agamsi pi. I guess I should, I try not to translate, but maybe we can go through and try and figure out what's being said. Danska kyo skat nawa pitagwe. So pegwawe sawe sagetsa gipe tam. At some point in time, we sagetsa heard this story. Eatimit oskenigwa miste temsoit. About this young person, this young man, that thought, I guess you would say, really highly of himself. Miste temsoit. He saw a lot of, would you say, he had a fat head? Temsoit. You know what we're gonna do while we're doing this? We're gonna do what I like to do, which is we're gonna look these up. Temso. Iteyimiso. See if we can find that one. Iteyimiso. To think thus about yourself. So, mistehe iteyimsoit. And what's interesting about that phrase is we know it's about the oskinigu, that young person, that young man. Because there's two people we're talking about in here. Wesagetak. Pitam, that means wesagetak. Eatimit, that means it was told about this one, oskanigua. Mistehe temsoyit. That yit on the end, that tells us we're talking about that oskanigua, not wesagetak. Oskanigua, mistehe temsoyit. Gitse mutawa oskanigu. Gitse mo. Let's look that one up. Gitse mo. Gitse mo. I got to switch back and forth, so we'll move a little slow here. So this is my process. Gitse mo when I'm reading. Gitse mo. He was conceited. Oskinigu, gitsemo. Egigitse motawa oskinigu. He was pretty conceited. Egagwe wigamin esa wa oskinigu. And it had been attempted to have him married off, I guess. These are my interpretations, so they may not be 100% correct. That's how I understand that. There's actually English on the other side, so we can go over there and have a peek and see what that says. I pull my sticky notes off. Peek over there. And when I'm reading, you can see my my post-it notes here as I'm reading. The words I don't know, I'll write those ones down so that the next time I read that, it'll give me a fighting chance. Kipito na miasen. Ai. Ai, witamoyen. People were trying to marry him off. I guess that's what that means. They had attempted to marry him off. The mege sounds like giving. Meg square away gut yinwa. In my head, I know what that means. Magata ta toga pe asotama squewa tawigamat at the way male. I know that last word means that because we read this a few times. The woman rejected him. Magus, whenever they tried to give him away, I guess. What does it say over here? They were trying to offer him young women to marry, I guess. Mananto, flower child, beat the way. It's a moanegwa. Maga tatuao kape asotama isquewa asotama. What's that one mean? Do I have my notes? Let's check. Check my notes here. What does that say? Sotama. It's not on that one. We'll go look it up. This is my process when I'm reading usually. Sotam. Promise to someone. We'll check the translation too. I think these are Solomon's translations, so they should be really good. Every time a young woman was offered for marriage, he would reject her. Oh, he would reject her. See, I got that part wrong. Let's read that again and see if we can figure out where we went wrong there. Tahtuao kape asotama isquewata wigama. Atoeamil. That makes sense to me now. He would reject her. Yeah, okay. I misunderstood. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. So this is the story that Wisagetak heard. Egwani to wapengeowa. Mate satapwe. To see if it was true. What's that word? To wapengeo. So then he went to check on this. That's interesting because I've been trying to figure out how to say that. Wapenegeo. Wapenegeo. That actually makes sense. I just want to look that up quick on my wapengeo. It's wapengeo. To go check up on things. To check up on things. Okay. That's good. And if you put an O on the front, Onto wapenegeo is an inspector, I guess, one who inspects things. So if you're just joining in, we're going to read some stories for the next couple nights. And we're just kind of using my process. I'm just kind of going through slow. I like to look up words as I go and try and figure out, get my slow brain to figure out, try and figure out what those things mean. It takes time. Utapem Sumania. I'm Métis, Red River Métis. But Cree was my grandmother's first language. Native Warrior says, how do I know when to use the G sound? Listen to your elders. It's because it'll depend on community. Like that word, kokum. In some communities I hear gokum. So it really depends. The best way to know is just to listen to the language a lot, and then you'll just know. Okay. To go and see if it was true. So he went to check things out. To go see if it was true. Tago sin itauni. I think that means like where people live. Itauni. Let's check. He arrives at the place where the people were living. Okay. itawani, which makes sense to me. I think the only place I've ever run into that word is in this story. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, kîsikâw, the place where he heard this kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, where that story was about that young person, I guess. How does he phrase that? Where the young man lived according to the story. According to the story. That's the tricky part with phrasing, eh? As intermediate learners, we try and... My brain understands that a little bit different, but it makes sense, what he says there. Generator says, from what I know, the G sound is usually when you see a K in the word, not at the front. The K and the G, the thing is, there's a fancy linguistic term for that. It's called an allophone. And what it means is that it's the same thing. It's just one is voiced and one, there are two different sounds, but it doesn't change the meaning. That's why we use one letter to represent that. If you use a different letter, like we do in English, a K and a G, then in orthographies and stuff, they would have different meanings. But sometimes I hear, like I said, in some communities I hear kokum, and they both sound K-ish. And in some communities I hear gokum. So it really depends. One is voiced and one is not. K and g. Your voice is doing the same thing, except in one of them you're actually activating your vocal cords. G, k, g, k. But it's the same motion. These stories are from this book. This is an old, so before this book was published, I have a secret version of this from a friend of mine. So you can get this on U of R Press. Solomon Rat's kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, the way I remember. And most of these stories I think are in here. You can find this on the U of R Press. But I have a secret version that was given to me by a friend a few years ago in a little, I think you get these little coil-bound books made up at Staples. So we're just going to read through and see if we can get through some of the story. Yeah, I was actually one of his students, a friend of mine that I think helped transcribe the stories, and they later went into that book. And there's more. There's actually more stories in that book than what I have. But these are like early versions, early drafts, I guess. And it's just convenient because it's coil bound and it lays flat. If I had to use the book, I'd wreck the spine, and I don't want to do that. So we'll just use this one. And the stories are a little bit different. The one where the stories are the same between the books I have and the published version. Thank you, Emmy. Ngutitan mistahe quest the big square ni win. So sagaku tiga kimutapo. From the bush, he watched him. Would you say kimutapo? So that itapo is to look at like if I say why we tape, saying like look outside. I'm not saying look at anything in particular, just like look in that direction. Why we tape? But that has kimutape. I'm saying look that way, kana kimuts, secretly. On the sly. So I guess you could say sagaku tiga kimuta po kawapmat o skinigua agamsi pi. So from the bush he kind of spied on him, I guess you would say. He watched that young man agamsi pi across the water. Oh, no, Schnizzle's here trying to shut it down. Wasagamsi pi matwe kanawapam soyit nipi. So, Wasagamsi pi, along the water, I guess. Wasagam's like along, right? Wasagam. Let's just double check that. Sometimes the words wasagam, it's like alongside maybe. We'll just double check because if I don't use a word, I'll forget. Sound like just a wasagam. Yeah, along the shore. That makes sense. Wasagam. See, my brain thinks it knows what it means, but I'll get it confused with other words sometimes. Because I'm not a fluent speaker. I'm just a just a learner. Wasagam sipi matwe kanawapam soyit nipi. So along the shore, he was clearly kanawapam soyit, like looking at himself in the water, but not just like glancing. He was like maybe, I guess, admiring himself. Kanawapam soyit. Matwe. This is like that matwe was like it was clear what he was doing. He was visibly or noticeably looking at, examining or admiring himself. Nipi, in the water. Yeah, looking at himself. Exactly. Ganawapam soyit. Matwe ganawapam soyit nipi. Metonikin ways ganawap meohi oskanigwa. So for really a length of time, he watched that young man. Osampago ga pig kîsikâw. Osampago ga pig kîsikâw. Would you say all day, right? What is that osampago? I know what osam means and I know what pago means, but how would you phrase that? Almost all day. That makes sense. Osampago ga pig kîsikâw. So mettanegin ways ganawap meohi oskanigwa osampago ga pig kîsikâw. So he watched that young man for a long time, almost the whole day. Mamska teo he oskanigwa ga ta kamksiet. Ga pig kîsikâw nipi higata pamsoyet. So he wondered, Mamska teo he oskanigwa. He wondered about this young man, about what he was doing, I guess you'd say. All day in the water, as he was looking at himself all day. That's how my brain understands that. Let's go see what Solomon says. He wonders about the young man, about his actions, all day looking at himself in the water, thinking so highly of himself. I love how you can say all of that with just like the way that you could say so much with a little bit of nehiuiwan sometimes, eh? I got to look up over here because I can't see I got my mic, I got my phone down here. You can see I got my new setup tonight, right? I'm trying something new here. And but I can't see my book anymore, so I got to stare up over here at my screen. This is what we're doing. So hey, tatawao, pitagwe, pegioge. Yeah, come and hang out. We're going to read for a bit. We're going to go for, we'll go for a little bit. All right. Egog mistehe temsoyet. Namananto gotakigwe. Watoskatamiua. Namananto etapatsiua. So, Egog mistehe temsoyet. He must have, I guess the way my brain interprets this is he must have thought a lot of himself. He surely, iegok in fully or to some extent, I guess. Mistehe temsoyet. He really thought highly of himself, I guess. We'll go see what Solomon says. This is the way my brain understands this. Namananto go tagigwe. Atoska tamiwa. He didn't work on anything else. That Oskanigu. Namananto itapatesiwa. He wasn't really good for anything else, I guess you'd say. That's how my brain understands. Oh, Shinizzle says, like how I felt today talking to you. Oh, come on now. Don't be like that. I was just teasing you. I was just giving you a hard time. You're doing good. Let's go see what Somana itapatasiwa. If somebody says kitapatsin kia, that means you're good for something, I guess. What does Solomon say over here? Let's have a look. All day looking at himself in the water, thinking so highly of himself, he works at nothing else, he's good for nothing. Not useful at all. Namananto itapatasiwa. Eguane, ego tau te pasugo isage tak, imam tanetak danse tagieso wawiyasi ha tohio skanigua. So I know what this means now, but we'll go through it. So then from there, Wisageta gets up and he thinks about how he's going to play a trick on this young man. Danse tagisa, wawiyasi hat uhe oskanigua. Ke tatoe piak kîsikâw. Esquaiga kita pamsut. Nipih awa oskanigu gawap mapiak oskanig sque wagamsi piki matwe kanatihoyet. All right, let's go through that a little bit. So then one day, I guess, esqua. That's a word I don't hear very often. Esqua. Ega kita pamsut. Nipih. Esqua. Would that be like while? While, yeah, while the young man was looking at himself in the water. Gawap matpiako sknik squewa, agamsi pi, imatwe kana tihoyet. So he sees this young woman across the water. Kana tihoyet. Kana tiho. What does that mean? Kanatihoyet. Okay, cleaning herself. Okay. Like kanata, kanatihoyet. Okay, that makes sense. Kanatiho. Wah. Agawa teo heo skaniksque waigo ki egi miu na gosiet. Agawa teo, so he desired this young woman because she was so beautiful, I guess, so good looking. Se makna teo o tauia te tue stama gutai aieske no te wigamat. Is that the end of the sentence? Aniheon o skanigsquewa. So we'll go back a bit. Se makna teo, so he went to fetch his father, o tauia, itwe stamagut, to speak on his behalf. That's a cool word. Itwe stamaweo, you could say. That one speaks on that other person's behalf. But that part on the end, ego, that means instead of he spoke on his father's behalf, itwe stamagut, his father's to speak on his behalf. Se magna teo tauia tue stama gutaisk enote wigamat anehe kîsikâw. Because he wanted to marry that young woman. He wanted to marry that young woman. Me tunigin weiskigok, egaskimi, awoskanigskwo, the wigamat. So for quite a while, egaskimi, it took some, I don't know, what would you say? Guskimeo, what does that mean? Guskimeo, like, would that be like convincing? Let's have a look. Every once in a while, if I want to try and sink a word into my brain, I'll just look it up. Guskimeo, to convince. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, I got some comments. Sorry, I got so many things going on here. If I miss your comment, it's not on purpose. I'll come back to it. So, Sage says, you make me miss being in Cree immersion. I can understand, but not speak it much. Kameamo. Just take some practice. Don't rush it. Don't feel bad if you're not where you want to be. Just one day at a time. Kameamo. So some convincing. Mitnikin weishigo ka gaskimi wa oskanigskwo. The wigamat ohi oskanigwa. So it took a thorough bit of convincing. It took a long time to convince this young lady to marry this young man. Egwanimaga bisk wigitoakoge. And so finally, I guess they were married. Egwanimaga. How does he phrase that? Let's go have a look. Eventually, however. Egwanimaga bisk wigitoakoge. So somebody asked before the G sound. I wouldn't say okay. I'd say oge. Because it's voiced. Eh? And I guess this one is going to sound more G on the front, but maybe more K on the back. Guayesk. Because the first one is voiced and the last one is not. Not always like that. Guayesk miwe kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. E wigamatohi kâ-mâwaci kâ-mâwaci o kâ-mâmawaci. The way I would hear this is kâ-mâmawaci, the most beautiful. Kâ-mâmawaci kâ-mâmawaci. But I guess mawaci is probably works too. Let's go look it up. Mawaci. This is Nihiwewan Plains Cree dialect. The most of all. And then I guess if you have mawaci or mamoci, I guess those are the same. This is the one I hear, mamoci. I hear this one a bit more, I guess, but I guess they mean the same thing. Okay. All right, back to, and I got to get my mouse going again. Where did it go? There we go. Back to the book. So guayas miwe tamawas oskanigo. E wigamato he. Ga mauce miunagosiet oskanigskwewa. So he was truly happy, this young man, that he married the most beautiful woman, the most beautiful young woman. Egwa, espiga we go to we. That's an interesting word. Ateote meo oskiwi wa. We go to we. So the we makes me think of marriage, and the oat makes me think of going somewhere. But he starts kissing his new wife, eh? How does he phrase that? Just as he's going to kiss her, I guess. Yespiga we go to ate o te meo o skiwiwa. Mwetiga o te mat ga ate misto misko te na gosiet. E ate na peo na gosiet. I think that should be an E. Meskut, like meskut, like to change. Gata meskut na gosiet. As he goes to kiss his new wife, Mwitiga Otimat, it was like he was kissing Gata meskut na gosiet. Eata na peo na gosiet. Let's go see. It was like he was kissing the person he was kissing was, their looks were changing. Let's go see how Solomon translates that. Just as he's going to kiss her, she begins to change her looks. She begins to look like a man. For my learner brain, my brain goes, why is there a ga here and a ga there, but only an a there, and how does that change the phrasing? It's interesting. I'll think about that for a while. But it makes sense. It makes sense. Wah, wah. Nstoinuil. Weisageta. He recognizes Weisageta. Okay. Weisageta gesa. Egi isqueoisi hot. The wigamanto hilskanigua. Mr. Higa etem sut. Tapatem soin. So, humility, eh? So, Weisageta isqueoisi hot. Is that like he dressed like a woman, I guess? Or he made his, what does it say over here? Yeah, dressed like a woman, yeah. To Wigama, to marry this young man that thought so highly of himself. I think there's a typo here. So I think that should say Egi squeusi hutawigama to uskinigua mistehe ka etim soyit is what that should say. Because it's not Wesagetak that thinks so highly of himself. It's that uskinigua. Wah, wah. Let's do another one. Oh, we've been through, this is the TH. So this is the early version of this. So they had Y and they had TH dialect. Ooh, it's getting warm in here. Okay, gotak. Tansikakio. Kakio kitam skat now, wow. Aaron Nitsiga, son. Saniwati Waskagan Wutinia. Mitnemiasin. Omagape. Tagosini, kape giogoik. Schnizzle's just patient, eh? Bit CC, this is Cree. Topway, this is Plains Cree Y dialect. Nehiwi win. Okay, kotak. See if I can bring my my neck's getting sore staring up there. We got to do this for 4 days, 4 nights. We're gonna read stories for 4 nights. I'm gonna bring my the risk of making an infinity loop. If I bring that down there, I can at least see it. Yeah, that'll work. Boy, that makes it hard to read though. Ole. Tisqua. I'm adjusting my view, my personal view of the thing, so I can. No, it won't let me do that. Oh well. It is what it is. Okay. Okay. Weisage itak sawa no kitu teo. Maybe I can slide over this way a little bit and look around my phone. Let's try that. My neck won't get so sore. Put this down. Tisqua. Whoop, crash, bang. Please stand by. Okay. Pegwa weisage ta ki pa pimu teo wa sagam sagahigani. So, at one time, Weisage Tak was walking around. He's walking around the lake, I guess. Gawap mate saniska. E ai opahoyet. Egwa manangawi e toi hoyet. Mamskateo. Oh, we'll get to that one. It's later. Weisage Tak and this eats his scabs. Well, we'll get there. I don't know if it's in this book or the other one. We'll get there. Patience, patience. So at one time, Weisage was wandering around in the bush, I guess, wandering around the lake, and he sees this goose, niska, o pahoyet egwa managawi e toihoyet, taking off, I guess, and landing again. Mamskateo. I guess he wonders about this. He wonders about this goose. Let's go check out Solomon's. What does Solomon say? Once Weisage Tak was strolling around a lake. He saw a goose, some geese, I guess, flying up and then landing again. And he wondered what they were doing. Yeah, that's right. So because it's niska in that obviative, for that other person, it could be more than one. My brain forgets that sometimes because I'm just a learner. All right. Mamskateo, he wonders about them. Tanso me takam ksiik, nisim tik, kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik isawiniska. So he asks him, he says, what are you up to, my siblings, my younger siblings? He asks them, these geese. Iyo, itagwa gikuma. We patsta pe ponegwa ta kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. So, EO, what does it say for that? EO is like, well, I guess that means like, well. It's autumn now, it's fall now. We patstapiponegwa. It's going to be winter soon. Egwa taka yaon. It's going to be cold. O si taupogo sawanok te se pimutehoya. Ega geta nipa, at this word, nipahas kwatsia. I wonder if you'd say npahas kwatsia. Itoyo esa wapeakniska. So it's fall now, and it's going to be winter soon and be cold. Uchi taupogo. So, uchi taupogo, the way my brain understands that is kind of like purposefully. With reason, I guess we'll say. What does Solomon say here? We must. That makes sense. Uchi taupogo. Sawano. We must travel south. Sawano. Tasi pamotehoya. Igageta pas kwatsia. So we don't freeze to death, I guess. I know that's what that words mean, because that word means because I've read it before. So we don't freeze. Nipas kwatsia. Ega gita nepa squatsiak. Toyo esa wap. Piakniska, said one of these geese. Ma tinista. Kigawitse no wow. Itoyo isake tsak. Me too. I'll come with you, he says. That's what he says to them. He says, Wisake take. Magawi ega iutata kwanien. Ega iutata kwanien toyo iso waniska. But you don't have any wings, said this one goose, eh? Ah, tapwe waste nuts. What does that word mean again? Waste nuts. Waste nuts. This is truly tragic. Waste nuts. Oh man, it's too bad, I guess you'd say. It's too bad. How tisqua, kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. Itoyo waniska. There's some great words in here. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. Together we'll help you. Just a minute. We'll help you. All of us will help you. Mamo. When I hear this, the way we write that kiga, that's because it's kia. The goose is talking to Wisageta. But when you ever have that ga in there, like we're going to, I don't hear kiga mamu witsit. No, witsitnan. I just hear ga. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. That's the way I'll hear that. I don't necessarily know that means that's the way it is everywhere, but that's the way I'll hear that usually. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik toyo wa niska. This one goose says, we'll help you. We'll all help you. Tisqua. Neto meo wa kumagana e koe teo. Ta kwama e yet. Wisageta kwa. Omia. This word. Omiamiik. So he goes to Nitomeo Oakamagana. Nitomeo. Let's look that one up. Nitomeo. Whoops. Trying to navigate all my stuff here. Nitomeo. He calls to them. He invites them. The goose, he invites his relatives. He calls to them. He says, hey. Nitomeo Wakamagana, his relatives. Eguateo, he tells them. Ta komait. Wisage kwa. Omiamiik. Let's see what Solomon says about that. So this goose calls his relatives and he told them, using their mouths, of course, to grab a hold of Wisageitzak's body. Uta tatagwa meko hiniska piak ostagwani. So one of them to grab hold, to bite, I guess. This one goose, one at his head, piak ostagwani. Eguatit ospitoni, a couple on his arms. Eguaminagutaga oskati, and some on his legs. Aha, tapwe. Nehuiwan Plains Cree dialect. Tawao. Kakyo pigyuge. So one goose at his head, two on his arms, and two on his legs. Egse sagaskitawak te pimotahatek oste suawa. Wisageitzagwa. So egse egaskitawak. So in that way they were able to they succeeded or they were successful. To bring Wisage, to bring their older brother, Solstice, Wisage, they were able to bring him along, to carry him, I guess. Let's see what Solomon says. How does he phrase that? So the geese did just that. One at his head, a few at his arms, and the other at his legs. And in this way, the geese were able to carry their older brother, Wisage. Ispami paskats e tapirohe. E sasagitsiniet. Now, I think I only understood 3 of the words in there. Paskats, I don't know that word. We can look it up. And then sasagitsiniet. So ispami is up. Itapiet. I think we're still talking about Wisagitsag. So he was looking up. Ispami itapiet. Paskats. Let's go see what that means. Aha, tapwe. I am matey. Utapem sumane utapem suyan. Apo. Apito sana tit. Sigat sunan. Utapem suak. Apo. Apito sanak. Asko. So we're looking up paskats. Paskats. Coincidentally, ironically, fittingly. On top of it all. I wonder if that'd be a word maybe that makes that funny. So ironically, how does Solomon Rat phrase this? Since he was facing upward, he couldn't admire the great views from that height. What does that word mean? Let's look that one up too. Kîsikâw. Sagitsin. Gitsin. No? Huh. Nope. Couldn't be that. I don't know that word. Did I spell it right? No, I did not. There's an A in there. Sasagitse. There it is. He was lying on his back. Interesting. Interesting. He was on his back, facing upwards. And so that's a really interesting phrasing to say. So if we look at that right there, ispamik. If we take out paskats, ispamik e tapiet here. So he was looking upward. Isasagitsiniet. He was on his back. But that one word, that one word, paskats, is going to have the humor in it, I think. That's the part that's going to make that funny, I guess. My brain's, just still learning, but I can see that since he was facing upwards, he couldn't admire the great views from that height, is the way that Solomon interpreted that. We'll just read it one more time. Ispamik paskats et tapirohi isa sagitsiniet. Gauya waskowi nistise. Gauya waskowi nistise. Iteo isawa niska ustisa. This is a really great example sentence right here. If you're just starting to get into grammar, I'm not going to do a whole bunch of grammar, but this is really good because this is a complete sentence that has we're talking about 2 people. Ustisa, the older brother, the goose's older brother, and then the goose, Niska. and then iteo. And because oste sa has that A on the end, we know it's the goose that's saying it to that one. Yeah, so right in that sentence, a lot of teaching grammar and phrasing in the language. Gao wasko nisti si iteo esa waniska ustisa. Don't move, older brother. The goose told, he said to Isagita, aqua. Oh, sorry if I missed your comments. I got so much going on here. I got things everywhere. I got to look around my phone so I can see the book. So comments are way up here. So if I missed your comment, I apologize. Welcome to the live. We're going to read for a little bit, and we'll be reading tomorrow. We're going to read for 4 nights. Learn some stories, study a little bit of phrasing. Tawao. Papito. What book is this? So you can't get a copy of this book, but all of these stories, most of these stories are in this book here. You can get on the U of R Press. It's called kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik by Solomon Rat. And I just have a version that was gifted to me by a friend of mine before this version was published that has some of the stories. It's just a little bit more convenient format for reading in like this because it's coil bound and I can lay it out. But most of these stories are in this book. You can get this on the U of R Press. I think it wasn't a whole bunch of money. $30, $25. Yeah, I don't think it was much. I don't see a price on it though. But if you check the U of R Press, they have lots of good stuff there. But we'll be reading some of those stories. Then I got another one that's got more secret stories from Solomon Rat. And then when we run out of those, there's some Tayukiwana we got in Papikasis. Tayukiwana, we'll tie into that one. Is this Elvish? Awas. Indigenous woman says, Daz, you speak very good Cree lol. Then me and I'm Cree myself right on. Tapoi mia sinan ma. Hey, name is here. Dan se. Mia sine pe tagosinian. Okay, so Gauya was kowi nisti se teo esawa niska ustesa. Don't move, older brother, the goose said to him. Get in. Holy, this is a mouthful. Gitskina is to drop something. So get this skintanan. Gagiskintanan. Gagiskintanan. I hope I'm saying that right. Gispin waskowiene. If you move, we're gonna drop you. Let's try that again. Gagiskintanan. Gispin waskowiene. Well, we might accidentally drop you, I guess. Gagiskintanan. How much gawaskoin toyo isa wisage tak. Okay, I'm not gonna move, he says. Egsa isipwi pihaw wako giniskak. Itah kunatsik uste suawa. So then they started to leave. They started to fly away, these geese, carrying their older brother. Itah kunatsik. Miwe tamwe sage tsakayes wistasawa no ke wietote hut. So he was happy because he too was gonna travel south, I guess. Ke tātou e gā pēto a tiskwewa. E matoi motsigi tā gosiet. Motsigi tā gosiet. Sounding, so suddenly he hears this woman. It sounds like maybe having fun or motsigi tā gosiet. I don't know that word. What does Solomon say here? Suddenly we heard some women and it sounded like they were having fun. I've always got to remember iskwewa. It could be one or it could be more than one. I've got to, that's where my brain's working on right now. Baby Golrod says, what a beautiful language. Thank you for sharing. Tapui. It is Cree, Plains Cree wide dialect. Nehiui win, sigatik. Nehiui win. And the dialect I speak, what would maybe be considered Southern Y, which you'll hear mostly around central region, Treaty 6 area. So ke tātou e ge pētoa iskua matoi mutsigi tā gosiet. Whenever you see that tago se, in that last story we had nago se, which is how isinagosit, isinagoso, isinagose, the way something looks. And then this one, tago se, the way something sounds. Mutsigi tagosit, so I guess fun sounding. They sounded like they were having fun, I guess. Ksa sto pak simuit. So I guess they were bathing. Itetam. Ksa sto is like ksa sto. What does Solomon say? Perhaps they're swimming. Paga simuit. Itetam, he thinks to himself. Itetam. Se ma waskoyo. So right away he moves. E guiskipayehut. And e guiskipayehut e kakwe wap matanihi iskwewa. Se ma waskoyo e guiskipayehut. I don't know that word. It sounds like guiske is to like turn. Guiski. Oh, that makes sense. Jumping to see the women. That was him. My brain tricked me. Guiskipayuhut, jumping, ekakwiwapma, jumping to try and see those women. Aneheskwewa. That makes sense. Have to look up and check my comments every once in a while. Make sure I haven't missed something. If you leave a comment and I don't see it right away, I'll get back to it. I got a lot going on here. I'm trying to manage a whole bunch of stuff. We'll get there. Mayowaci-cimâsik, as soon as he moved. Gagetiskin gutanihiniska, those geese dropped him. How does Solomon phrase that? Well, that's exactly it. As soon as he moved, the geese dropped him. Mitere pagastoi si. Mitane pagastoi si kitogeskwe wagapa pagasimoyet quesk pa papik. This one I don't know. Pagastoi si. Pagastoi si. Wonder what that word is. Brinana? Mananto, kiamaga. Toao, pitagwe. He fell right into the water where they were swimming. A pagastoi si. Let me see if I can find that. I need to locate that in my brain. So sometimes when I'm trying to shake my dependency on this, but if I look a word up and I can find it, then that's just the way my brain works. It'll just lock in there sometimes. Pagasto. Pagastoi. Se? No. Pagasto. Pagastoe is into the water. Pagastoe hum. Knock something into the water. Pagastoe na is to dip it in the water. Pagastoe neo. Drop someone in the water. I wonder if there's a typo on that one. I wonder if it's just supposed to be, if that A isn't supposed to be there. Mittane pagastosi. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think that's supposed to be there. That's my guess. Mittane pagastosi. Itaugi squewa kap pagasimuit. Pagastoisi. I'll have to think about that. I don't quite understand that word or the way it's phrased. Hey, Shinizzle 92%. Mia sanma. Mia sinanma. Kitamianan. Tapwe. Ach, meamo. Except we want to see 95 next time. No, I'm just kidding. You did good. Ego ani na mat sawa no ko si tuteo. Wasage ta. Maga. Kea pits oginas kak sawa nuk. Itote hoak ta to tagwa genego tap scoots kea pits emitsimna tikwe sage ta. I think that should have wa on the end. That's my guess. So Isage never got to go south. Ewanin much sawa no koche. Ito te ho Isage Maga. Keapits. Oginas kaksawa nok ito te hoak. Tato tagwa again. Ego tap scoots keapits e mitimnatik. Wisage agwa. So but those geese, they still fly south every fall, just like they're carrying Wisageta. Taps like they're still carrying him. Tap scoots kiapits emitsimna tik Wisageta aqua. Ahau. Tanta to tapaiga negwa. Utea ya tepa gop. Aya pego sap tapaigan nes pamo is aina neo tapaigan. Yeah, I'm an hour behind you here. But we'll go for a little bit. We probably got time for most of one more. Mind you, this is pretty sure the next one is, well, we'll see if we can get through it before we call it a night. Tatoao kakio. Kispin katiski tagosinian. Kitam skat now. Okay, kotak. Wisage take igwa muswa. Pegwa isa wisage tak papimute wasagam sagayani. Ke tatoiga wapmat muswa ni nepik e pahkopet. Ega kan wapam soyet. So at one time, I guess, Wisagetsag was wandering around the lake, and all of a sudden he saw this moose. Pahkopiet. Pahkopeo. I don't know that word. Let's look it up. Pahkopiet. pahkopiet. Pahkopeo. Wading in the water. Okay. E pahkopiet. E pahkopiet e kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. He was wading in the water looking at himself, this moose. E tato e mana ga sipwe mato to one moose was speak kâ-mâwaci-cimâsik ni pi. So suddenly he starts noticeably sipwe matot. Sipwe like he was leaving. E sipwe matot. He starts crying, this moose, as soon as he sees himself in the water. I just want to see the phrasing on that. How does Solomon phrase that? Suddenly, he saw a moose looking at himself as he entered the water. All of a sudden, the moose burst into tears as it saw itself. Sipwe matot. Sipwe. Let's look that up, because I didn't know that meant, like I think like sipwe teo, but sipwe like the tears were just coming out, so departing, I come out, commencing, starting out. Interesting. Sipwe. Sipwe matot. I didn't know you could say it that way. Very interesting. Ki tato e ka wap mat muswanipi. E pahkopi e te kana wapamsuyat. Ki tato e mana ka sipwe matot o muswaspi ka wapamsut nipi. Ki tamagi toeo o sim sawe sage tsak. So that word there, he felt pity for him. That's like that word, it's kind of like that word chamaks. Kitamaksu, someone is, pitiful, I guess you could say. Kitamagito weo, but I guess would you say he listened to him with pity? Let's see what Solomon says. He heard him. He felt bad for his younger sibling. Kitamagito weo, osimsa. Wezageta. Atinateo, so he went to get him. We sipwe pa taiwa mayo ka wapamigot. He was gonna, that moose, he was gonna start running away as soon as he saw Wisagetak. Nitomeo. So Wisagetak called to him. Shanizzle. Nigitsamag sin, you can say. Gitsamag. Gitsamag sin. No, Moya. Don't be like that. So let's do that. Let's read that one more time, because there's a bit going on in there, eh? We know because we say muswa and wisagetak, we know that sipwe pa taiwa, we know we're talking about the moose. Sipwe pa. We sipwe pa taiwa, he was gonna run away. Mayo, as soon as gawa pamigot, as soon as he saw wisagetak. Mayo gawa pamigot. Nitomeo, wisagetak, calls to him. Hey, see, miss. Tane keoma kamatoin ka tatesa. So he says, hey, my little sibling, my younger sibling, why is it that you're crying? He says to him, Kipi tiwa. So that moose stops, eh? I could see, I got my notes. I wrote my notes in there from last time. We did this last year, eh? So it's saving me for every once in a while. I'm like, oh, I left little hints for myself in there, because I didn't remember that word. Kipi-tiu. Kipi-tiu. Let's look that one up just for fun. Kipi-tiu. I got to move the book so I can type, because I got such a setup here. Kipi-tiu. He stops. He comes to a stop. stops in his tracks. Kîsikâw, but we're talking about that moose, so it's kîsikâw, that other person. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. Maya. I think he's saying because I'm ugly. Because I'm too ugly, he says. He tells Wisageta. Hey, was? Give me a sinuma gatat. He says, no, don't say that. You're quite handsome, he tells that moose. Magana what's nitsuwam upsamusus. Emia sitaisk. Emioteiskanate. Kasima tutesawamuswa. He says, but my nitsawam, the deer, Emia City is so good looking because he's got those nice antlers. Emioteiskanate. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. He cried to Wisageta. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. Esawamuswa. Kitamagi toeo osimsa Wisageta. He really felt bad for his younger sibling, Wisageta did. How? Gayama tonisims. Gatuit Wisageta. Don't cry, my younger sibling, Wisageta told him. Kositama atin es kanaki spin. Natamuiani isqueo. Gaetato simsa. He says, I'm going to make you some horns if you bring me a woman, he says. I think that's what that says. That's what my brain... Don't cry, younger brother, Wisageta. I will make you antlers if you fetch me a woman, he told his younger brother. Wah, Wisageta. Magamina. Atsio mamtane tamawamuswa. No what's pogo. Eanwe toatos desa. Atsio, so for a little while, mamtane tamawamuswa. So he thought about that for a little while, that moose. No what's pogo. Eanwe toatos desa. He thought about this for a little while because he didn't really trust his older brother. It's the way Solomon would say that. How? Maganigan. O steiskane stamuin. Pieskitueo Wisageta aqua. He says, okay. But first, O steiskane stamuin. First, make me the antlers. I guess. Give me the antlers, I guess. First antlers. Finally, he says to Wisageta. Tapui pagoane at otis kane stamueo simsawa Wisageta. So Wisageta starts on these antlers, I guess. He goes ahead and he makes these antlers for Moose, for his Osimsa, his younger sibling. How Gemia sinisi miss toeo iteo Osimsa. He says, oh, you look really good, he told his younger sibling. Kanawapam so nepi. Look at yourself in the water. Wah. Miona suwa muswa spiga ganwapam sut. Nepi kaisk e misaige o teiskana. he looked really good, that moose, as soon as he saw himself in the water, because the antlers were really big. I misaige o teiskana. Egoane si puipa tao in ton tunawat squeus wasageta kwa tao wiwit. So then he took off running. He ran off. He went looking for an esquew, for Wasake talk to marry. Wiwit, I guess, to marry. Yeah, for Wasake talk to marry. Kien ways itah kamigisu, itah kamksu. I hear this word so many different ways. I don't always know the right way to say it. Itah kamiksu o wamuswa. Kien ways itah kamiksu o wamuswa. Metane at iskatspehut, Wasake talk. So Wasake talk waited so kin ways. I guess the moose was at that for a while. Kinways kitak miksua muswa. Metane eate skuts behut. Is skuts, I think that means like, is he getting impatient or something? Truly, Wisageta got tired of waiting. Yeah. Eate skuts behut. Wisageta. Keita toega matausit. I don't know that word. Matausu. Suddenly the moose came out into the clearing. Wah! Kitamag muswa. No, what's Mr. He? Ekino kinoko date. Egwa utapiskan ke gats mutse ke ese agotini ekegwa uteskana. A napagisiet. I think I know what's being said here, but let's work through this one at a time. No, what's Mr. Ekinogo date, so is Gitamaga Nagasu. I guess he looked pitiful, I guess. Wow, that moose was sure pitiful. No, what's Mr. Ekinogo date? So his nose was bigger. Ego taps kanke gats mutsike se agotiniek. Otapiskan. Whatever that is, was almost hanging on the ground. Otapiskan is his chin almost hung on the ground. Otapiskan. Ego teiskana. A nappa kisiet. Napak, like flat, eh? Uteskana a nappa kisiet. And his antlers were all flattened. Taneh kiomaga sinagosian, nesims kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik osim. How come you look like this, my younger sibling? He asked him. He asked that moose Wisageta. Enos what tage kanige isque wakmaga sagake ispatatik. Ego te ntisenos watawak maga nitate mitzimusinin mistagok. I don't know that last word. Mitzimusinin. Like grab it. Mitzimusina. We'll look that one up. As I was chasing these women, and they ran into the bush. Sagake ispatatik. They ran thusly into the bush. Egoegote, and there, ntisin waswatawak, magan tate mitzimusnin mistigok, something to do with a tree. It's almost like the tree grabbed mitsimmuusanin. Let's go see what that is. I was following some women, but they ran into the bush. I tried to follow them there, but I began to get stuck in the trees. That makes sense. Mitsimmuusanin. I got stuck. That makes sense. Niteiskanak. Mitsimmuusimagik. Misteguk. My antlers got stuck in the trees. That's what that says, right? I'll just double check. Yeah, my antlers got stuck there in the trees. Yeah, okay. We're good. Checking my comments. All right. Tahtuauga kakui wihkwatihoyan. What's Mr. here nimitsimmuusanin? Every time I tried to wihkwatihoyan, whatever that word means, every time I tried to, whatever this is, I'd get more stuck. That's what he's saying. Wihkwatihoyan. Every time I tried to get free. Tahtuauga kakui wihkwatihoyan. What's Mr. here nimitsimmuusanin? Every time I tried to get free, I'd get more stuck. Mitane nikwaagani tawahaman mistagok elgo tsigasik kinwehkwean. That's why I have a long face, he says. Mitane nikwaagani tawahaman mistagok. Tawaham. I don't know what that means. Let's look it up. Baby Golrod says, this poor moose is having the modern online dating experience. Wow. All right, the word we're looking up is tawaham, I think. Tawaham. Nope, there's an M on the end. Tawaham. Slashes it, hits it. Tawaham. Every time I hit it, I guess he's saying, my face. I really hit my face on the tree. Mitaniniquagan. Ita tawahaman. Mistagok. I really hit my face on the tree. That's why my face is really long, I guess. Let's look at Solomon's interpretation of that. My face got smashed a lot there in the trees, and this is why I have a long face, he says. Wah, wah. Mitanemine at the napagisimagik. Niteiskanak. I really started to flatten my horns, I guess. What does he say? Then above all, I began to flatten my antlers. Horns, antlers. Moose don't have horns. Matigitam, measi hin nisti se. Make me beautiful again. Mahte. Nama, osam wats kipi tamwin squill. It will wisage itsak. Eate nagatat. He says, nope. Because you didn't bring me a woman, he says. Wisage itsak. And he starts to leave. Keabits pe agwan isinago suwa muswa. Keapits mina mama to ispikawa pamsut. Ispikawa pamsut nipi. So that moose still looks like Kepitspegwan, that moose still looks the same. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, and he still cries when he sees himself in the water. Ahaw! Kagisita no egota. We're going to be finished there for tonight. But if you're just joining in, poor moose. We still got more stories. We're going to do this for 3 more nights. Shinizzle says, poor moose. But Baby Gullrot says, poor moose, and Shinizzle says, but it looks good on my kitchen table. Hey, Jesse. Tawao. Mia sini, tago sini en kia. It's good you've arrived. Sarah Tachkop says, I love this. I want to learn. We're going to do this for 3 more nights. We'll stick around for a couple minutes and visit. And if there's any questions about the stories or any questions about the language, or just hang out for a few minutes, we're going to do this for 4 nights. Not real sacred or anything like that, just because we can. It's the solstice. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, kîsikâw, the longest night. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, the shortest day. That's the way I learned those. That's the way Solomon Round would say those. Or not, sorry, Reuben Quinn, sorry. That's the way I learned those from Reuben Quinn. Jesse Dawn says, a Métis grew up on the res. Whereabouts, Jesse? Danteuci. Leslie Ann, on my For You page too, can we show the lives some love? We got a lot of likes on this and 57 people on the live right now. I'm really everybody that come in to visit tonight, I'm really grateful. We're going to do this for a few more nights because we can. There's snow on the ground. We'll break out all my books and find them. We'll practice. We'll break them apart and figure out what's being said. See if we can get into some of those tricky words. I'm just a language learner. I'm not a fluent speaker. Just learning the language. And so Treaty 6, whitefish. Whitefish. Dante Maga, I don't know where that is. Whitefish, that sounds really familiar. Sarah asks, when did you first learn the language? It's been about 6 years and a little bit. I'm just over 6 years into this journey. Nova says, Nista Nimasinaik, he kanne hiyo and Solomon Rat was my teacher Gaias. Miasananma. Jesse, love this page. Please keep talking the language. Ta pue. So I'm learning this. My grandma's first language. So I'm I'm a Métis, a Red River Métis. My mom's family, my grandma was from southern Saskatchewan, the Willow Bunch area. And so Cree Nehuiwan was her first language. Jesse says, when I hear you say the words, I remember them so clearly, so I catch on easy. Ta pue. Big River First Nation. Okay. Boy, the comments are just flying. I'm trying to catch up. Kameamo, keep going. Support each other. I know there's some stuff going on. I'm just going to look that up so I have an idea where you're at. Big River First Nation. Saskatchewan. Oh, it's in Saskatchewan. Is that the one? Oh, Big River and Atachkop are neighbors. Okay, miasan. Yeah, sinanma. I got to get out to Saskatchewan. I'm going to try and get out there this spring. I was invited out to Red Earth. And man, I was sick this spring. I couldn't do anything. So hopefully this coming spring. Jesse, I'd love to be able to speak like you. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. If you're able, if there's classes, if there's conversational groups, study. I'm going to start talking about some of the tools that I use to learn more on this channel here shortly. There's some things, if you've taken classes and you're looking to get more towards a intermediate level, it's a lot of work. Language learning is difficult or challenging, I'll say. It's not without its challenges. Just ask Shanizzle. My connection is on. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Jesse's a fiddler. That's awesome. I have a fiddle that hangs on my wall. I can kind of play it, but I scare people away when I do. I'd love to be able to play fiddle much better. Nova the Nahiwak makes videos, I guess. I'll have to go check that out. I'll have to come check out your page. Naskomon. What's ye from James Bay? Tapwe, Dance, Mananto, Nia. The Troll 420. Mitisk. Sorry, I don't mean to swear. Nova says, boy, I don't, well, Otsapoetsi. Hope I said that right. Otsinia. Nzapa nak nihiwa negonokom. Kiskin watameonia. Ermine Skin. Emma's from Ermine Skin. Fiddle on the... I look at it every day, my fiddle. I play a lot of instruments. Guitar and bass and drums and fiddle. I can play a few tunes, but man, I listen to that, some of those jigs and stuff, and I got a lot of work to do. Can I teach you swear words? Moi. Jesse says, my mom is... that must be an answer to a question somewhere. I'm LaPlante. My family's Lafernay and Caplets. Baby Golrot says, from Ontario, been learning more about First Nations culture and history. Miasan. Akamemo. Okay, Nova's saying, trying to say they taught me. Kîsikâw. Kîsikâw. They taught me. Here, I'll bring it up on the screen. Kîsikâw. You can say. Kîsikâw. Kîsikâw. This is the word. Kîsikâw or Kîsikâw. But then the way that you, there's these like labels or whatever. Let me go down to the bottom. Show more. What you're looking for is them. The way that they express that in linguistics is 3P. That's the third person plural them. They taught me, so you want 3P with an arrow to the 1. So that's this one here. You can say Nagiskanohamag. Oh. Ngisko, the plural, not the singular. Tisqua. This one, sorry. 3P to 1S. Nagiskanohamagwak. Or Agiskanohamotik. This one here. They taught me. Papiguana. Gijiko. I'm Nish from Lake Superior, but my daughter's other side, Fam Nehio. This is from Sask. I like the sound. I was just out in Treaty 1, hanging out with some Nishnabeg. It was fun. It's another language I'd like to learn, but Jordan, what is this? Cree Ojibwe. This is Nehiwe and Plains Cree for the most part, wide dialect. But I have mentors who are TH. I have mentors and friends who speak N. Yeah. Tapwe, that's the word I remember now, Nova says. It's challenging to get into some of the, so when you get into this, it's unfortunate that you have to sort of learn all of the, well, you don't have to, but, you know, linguistic-y stuff or whatever. If you just kind of get out of the way, I know people that have learned most of this and without all of that, it would just by listening, you can do it that way too. Yeah. Sarah asks, what time will you be on again? And what day? I want to hear the story more. So I have 3 more nights this week. So I'll be on again at the same time tomorrow. I was trying to be on at 6 p.m. Pacific tonight, which would be about 7 in Edmonton. I don't know what time it is in Saskatchewan. Is it 7 o'clock in Saskatchewan or is it 8 o'clock? I think it's 8 o'clock in Saskatchewan. So I'm going to try and get started at 6 o'clock Pacific. I'm in West Kelowna right now. I'm going to go from 6 to 8. I got started at about 6:30, so we're going to go till about 8:30 my local time. It's 20 after 8 now. And we'll do some more. We'll do 3 more nights. The last night was the kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, the longest night. And this is when storytelling season would traditionally start. So we're gonna read stories for 4 nights. Not that we're being sacred or anything. And then we'll pick up where we left off and grab the next story. The next story is gonna be Dante Maga. Weisage igwa my tsigosa. Weisage and the goat. That's the next one. It's really short. Then Shanizzle's favorite story. Weisage omgimitu. Weisage eats his scab. And then, is that the last story in this book? That's the last one in this book. It's a pretty long story. Once we get through that, then we'll move to the next book. The next one, Gotakatsamona, and we'll read some more. There's another. We'll keep going through there for a couple days. If we run out of stories there, we'll move on to another one. Nova says, I was a Munia Sagai again. Majority speak Cree there, teach dialect. Yes, and yeah. There's some communities that still speak lots of language, but English creeps in everywhere because we're sort of in English immersion everywhere else. So we've got to work hard to push back against that and try and get more. So these stories are in this book from Solomon Rat. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. And you can find this book on University Press. Just the copies I have were like drafts. One of his students, a friend of mine, put them, to help type them out a long time ago. But if you go University of Regina Press to their store, U of R Press, and then you can find all kinds of books in here. So, geez, I need my glasses back. Indigenous language resources. Browse by series. You can, this series is called Our Own Words. So if you get into that series, the language readers, these ones are good. These ones are good here. There's more than just Cree, and they're adding stuff all the time. So, geez, I've never even seen this one. So there's different language here. These are our legends. This one is Woods Cree stories, Blackfoot stories of old. And then there's funny little stories, which is a Cree book. So yeah, a lot. Next copy. This one looks like, this is Tsutna. And Lillooet, and I can't read that. Grosventre. So there's a bunch of stories, and then those books are good. Regina Collection, let me see. They actually have so many books, it's kind of hard to find. Indigenous language resources. This one's good. Kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. So this is the one here. kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. And it's going to run you $26 plus shipping. But yeah, there's lots of good stuff here. Akanihuyetan, Gayasnutin. That one's new. Miskapi. Ginokimasis books. Matsunehiwe. I do this one on my TikTok lots, so I'm trying to. It'll probably take me the whole next year to get through it. But I've given away a couple copies of this, and there's no. They'll use this in classes sometimes, but I'm just working through the pages. I don't teach them. I just read the words, just more so to help with pronunciation, that kind of stuff. Shanice. Oh, Nova says, Lameo, we are sacred, lol. Okay, we covered the book. I'm Métis. I'm not native. Well, I'm Métis. I'm a real white Métis. But Nihiwe and Cree Plains, that was my grandma's first language. It's Cree. She's from southern Saskatchewan. Jesse says, a few res around me speak their language, but yes, lots of people have lost their language. Yeah, and you know, some people say, oh, we never lose a language, just sleeping. I don't want to say like disagree with that, but if we don't, I don't want to use that as an excuse to get complacent, because my wife's language, my wife's mom is from Upper Nicola. It's an interior Salish language, and all of their elders, we were at a conference not that long ago, and pretty much all of the fluent speakers were in one room around this one table, and there's maybe 25 of them. The youngest one's 70 something, right? Lots of our community, we have so many, there's so many stories like that. And, you know, Anishinaabe and Nehiu and our different Nehiu dialects and stuff, that gap exists where, like, our kids might be getting a little bit in school, and our uncles and aunts and maybe our grandparents and some of our parents speak, but there's this gap in the middle. We have a lot of parents and grown people who don't speak the language and want it back. So we got to get busy. Chapters has some language books. They have a language section. It's been hit and miss, the ones that I've been in, but they do have some. Yep. Indigenous Rookie says, I just finished a Cree course in Musqueam. They're doing more in January. They have 4 levels. I've taken that a few times. They're really good. Hey, is it Deborah Young that's still teaching that class? I found it really good because you can kind of pick the level that you want to be in. And they start sort of at the Matse and go up to Naisto, I think it's called. Yeah, I'm Métis. My grandma was, my mom and my grandma, they didn't talk about it much. Well, I knew I was Métis growing up. Like, they talked about it that way. But on my dad's side of the family, my dad's dad, my grandpa on that side, openly ridiculed. There's a lot of, like, I guess you'd call that lateral violence or racism on that side of the family. So it's like, I grew up in that era where you didn't talk about it. Sarah says, it's sad a lot of my age group in early 30s are not interested in their language. Yeah, there's some that are, but yeah, there's lots that aren't. There's so much, this Western world is designed to keep us distracted and busy, disconnected, and divided, I guess I'll say. Shanizzle's getting busy learning. Mitnimiya Sinanma. Indigenous Ricky says, Marie Saddleback was teaching us. I don't know if I know Marie. I think I should. Dance Snoopy Mananto Nia. User 665376783 says Dance Nichi Mananto. Nova, I'm in my 30s. It's been a lifelong journey speaking every day. Learning the language isn't, it's not like it's not an event. It's a lifelong thing. I agree. When we get done reading, I'm going to go back. I'm going to try and go back to weekly. I was doing lives twice a week. I don't think I could do probably once a week, and I want to do some more intermediate stuff for people who are interested. And we're going to do some transcriptions. We're going to go in and we're going to do transcriptions. We're going to listen to we're going to go in and listen to some fluent speakers, and we're going to work together to try and figure out what's going on in some of these. And we'll pick some that aren't too hard. I've got a bunch of, I saw a video from Sainapan Thunder, her mom. What's her first name again? Gladys Gray Eyes? If I message Sainapan, I'm sure she'll give us permission to work on that. And maybe we'll pull it down and we'll work on it. Let me adjust that. So when we transcribe, we just sort of grab all these little, ooh, that was really loud. For me anyway. We can go through, I'll make sure I'm set up so that y'all can hear this too, and we'll go through and we'll start from scratch with a brand new, maybe a video, and we'll go through, we'll transcribe. Transcribing is just a process of listening to something and writing it down. And what it does is it helps us discover words. It helps us work on our listening and our comprehension and be like, what does this word mean? It's one of the reasons I like to read, because with reading, the reason I get these, like to read these books, because it's already written down. So I just have to find the word. I just have to figure out what the word means. But with transcribing is the next level where it's not written down. So we got to get it written down first. And then we got to figure out what the words are. And it's a lot of work, but by the time you get to the end of a video or a recording or something like that, you know it intimately, and you've learned a whole bunch of new words, and there's some parts where you're still confused, but it's good. It's a good learning tool. So we'll tie into that maybe in another week. Once we get through our stories, we'll get some stories done first. Just a few more minutes, then we're going to shut her down. Any last questions? Salutations. Nicole says, I am recently a Sam and want to learn Korean, teach my children at the same time. Yeah. Nistan kakwe nihu imototo wa waknitswa simsana nak. I try to talk to my kids every day. One of the strategies that I use is, if you're connected, stay-at-home mom. Okay, I didn't understand that. Thank you for clarifying. If you can connect with some folks who can help with one of the things that I try and do, you can do labeling and things, and that's really good, learning some vocabulary. But then I try to replace, if I say something in kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, if I say something in English, I try to figure out how to say that in a language, so that day to day I'm slowly replacing just one phrase at a time. And then, the stuff I do know is a little bit repetitive, gets more repetitive. I encourage my kids to repeat what I'm saying. Hey, baby Golrock, thanks for coming in. Hope to see you tomorrow. Do I have a YouTube channel? Lisa says, my students are fluent, so I teach reading and writing. I'm going to start taking my lives and putting them on YouTube just so people have access. I've been asked about that. But I'll start doing that. I'll start putting more stuff on there. And if you go on, Lisa, if you're following on my TikTok, I just exclusively do mostly reading. I try not to talk too much. I just try to read. And I try to encourage people to disconnect the lettering. So we see this on the screen. Disconnect these letters from the sound of English and start to see and think of them as the sounds of Nehioiwin or Nithuiwin or Inimowin. Because these are not English letters, these are Nehio letters, or syllabics if you prefer, right? But I'm thinking more about YouTube. It's just more of a time thing. YouTube is long form. So we're sort of doing long form here with the reading. We'll put that on YouTube and then folks can access it. Shanizzle says, you inspired me to learn. Shanice, you are my greatest accomplishment. I'll just say it out loud. I'm so proud of you. And that's the truth. And you get upset with me too. Moya. I just tease you because you're lazy sometimes. I'm just kidding. I know you're working hard. Going to the gym and stuff. Nicole says, I was going to do some labeling. Do you have recommendations on books? Do I have any of the books here? Here, let's look them up. For kids, good sort of like beginner into advanced beginner stuff. I would go onto the SICC store. Was it Saskatchewan Indigenous Cultural Center? SICC store, the online retail store. If you go in there and you go into Cree, they have 3 dialects worth of stuff in here. You can get posters and flashcards and songs. The songbooks like the Brian McDonald you can find on like YouTube Music or I think maybe Spotify, I don't know. But there's a bunch of different books in here and different levels. I have quite a few of these and they're really good. Like this one here, kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. I've done this on a live. This is, and it's if you're a beginner, this is going to feel advanced, but it's really great because it's a repetitive story. You can work on it. You can look up the words. Same as Nistomasquak. But there's some other ones like kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik. These ones are just like one word per page. So kâ-mâmawaci nistes, kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik wapigwani. Like they're really simple phrases. And they're moimistagiteo, they're like $5. So if you got, $30 you can put in and plus shipping, you can get a handful of books. It's really quite good. I keep coming back to see what more they put here because this is really good for my little one. We still read, there's a few of these books we still read on a regular basis. Lisa's my cuz, she's deadly. Yes, and it's good to know speakers. Yeah. Jesse says, love to hear you on repeat, learn. Love to hear you on repeat, learn easier that way. So we're working on an app right now. I don't think apps are necessarily the answer, but I'm working on an app right now. I'm hoping we're going to be able to get to it in the spring where we can start to crowdsource phrases. Let me just pull this up. So this transcription app that you saw here, this is one of my projects. I'm working on redoing this right now. It needs a little bit of work, but we've been using this for about 4 years, this app. And then we've been building up a database of words and phrases. But if you go to my site, kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, and I talk about this, the kâ-mâmawaci app. And so what this is this is going to be an app where you can ask questions. How do I say this? And then depending on the community you're in, if you're a language mentor, language mentors can contribute answers in the language specific to their community and contribute audio for those phrases. So it can start with really simple phrases and then more and more advanced phrases. And then the main point of the application will be a playlist. So you'll be able to add more phrases as you're learning them and take phrases off as you know them. And this isn't just for Nehioiwin. We want to build this so that it's available for any language or dialect could use this. And so if you come in and you're from Goodfish or something and you're like, oh, we don't have our dialect here, right? Then as a language mentor, you can sit down with an elder or something and just record, just go through the phrases and just start recording and capture that for your community. So we're working on this right now. I don't have an ETA on when that might be ready, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully in the spring. Nicole, beginner stuff. Okay, I think we got that. Shanizzle, do you think I'm a beginner? I think there's a way folks measure fluency for learners. You're an intermediate speaker, I think. Jenny says, just wanted to share our exciting news. Hello from Morongo Nation, California. Wow. Jenny, did I miss the news? I got to scroll back and see if I missed a comment somewhere. Feel free to share. Unless you have already. I'm sorry if I missed it. The comments go by so fast. Jesse says, right now, cleaning my house and listening. If I can hear this a few more times, I was thinking, that way. And even if you listen to stuff that's, like you find stories and stuff on YouTube, if you go to my site, kâ-mâmawaci-cimâsik, and you click on Learner Library at the top here, and I mostly only have like the resources around the Cree dialects in here right now, but I'm going to add more stuff in. I want to start adding more languages in just to have one repository where you can come and find stuff. But if you come in and just click on listen, and it'll sort of filter out the podcasts and the songs and any of the audio recordings that I know of. And you can go through here and kind of find stuff. And just, even if you don't understand it, just start listening to it. And then if you want to move up to YouTube, you can just click on watch. APTN has some stuff. I don't put every YouTube video on the internet on here. I just put channels, a link to different channels or Facebook groups. And different stuff that I find. And also, if you know of something, if you have resources that you would like listed in here, you can just send them. You can either submit them through this form, just send me a message. Otherwise, just, you can message me on Facebook or you can message me on TikTok. And I'll add it in there for others. And then there's material here for reading. You can also sort of drill down by like, if it's like more academic stuff. These categories are fairly loose, but I'm trying to keep a fairly organized collection of stuff for people just to make it easier, so that if you're just learning and you don't know where to start, you can just come here, click on watch, and just start going through the YouTube videos. There's actually quite a bit more stuff I think I have that I need to start adding in here, because I see there's some YouTube channels that are missing, but good night, Shanizzle. Mr. TikTok. Oh, wuss. Jesse says, I work graves as a support worker with our people receiving homes, so I have lots of time to listen in. Miasin. Yeah, that's good. We're going to shut her down in just a few minutes, so any last comments or thoughts? Ranaskum tina wao kakio gape tagusiniek. Kakio gape giogoiek. All y'all that come and visited me tonight. Gape weetse I meets a game yake that came to read with me tonight. Ranaskum tina wao. Kutam skat now wao. I hope you have a great night. And we'll see you again tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Right around 6 o'clock Pacific. We'll be back for some more stories. I'm going to shut her down now. Have a good night. Muestas.